As I'm watching, I notice I see Heavy D. What did it take for you to wrangle him into doing the classics?
I always loved Heavy D. And we were in rehearsals for H4. My buddy Avery O. Williams brought him by the rehearsal. I seized the day. I was like, come on, man, you got to be in this. And he agreed. He was my pal. We worked on it. Went over to his apartment, worked on the material once or twice before he actually shot. And then, of course, as you know, before the movie came out, he passed away. But he was a great guy, and I think he does a lovely job in the film. It may be one of his last, if not last, performances on film. We're grateful to have had him.
I loved him as an actor. I was really sad that we didn't get to see more from him because I thought he was really exceptional.
I agree.
So there's a famous line from this particular piece, uneasy lies the head that wears the crown. How do you think that analogy is applicable, especially for the American people today with our state of affairs and an impending civil war? Because, today we vote on, not we, but our representatives vote on whether or not to impeach our president.
Yes. The great thing about Shakespeare is that it's always relevant. None of it really goes out of date. Whoever happens to be wearing a crown, or in this case, we wanted to make it look like the guy is kind of a quasi-religious leader as well as a political leader. If you look at the burdens of power, I think it's referred to as public service for a reason. You're at the service, really, of not just your constituents, it seems, but of fate itself. I don't know anybody that is entirely sane or well-balanced that wants to be leading affairs of state. Who wants that job, really? So I think that it's always true, not just in the case of our present situation with Trump and so forth, and the impeachment, which seems to me mostly political, but that's the price you pay. It's a political office. It's a political environment and world, and people, when they are doing that, when they are applying politics, when they are in politics, we wanted to make a deliberate point, Carla, that stagecraft, statecraft, and H4 are the same. If you look closely at the movie, you'll see that all of the stuff that takes place that deals with politics or kingdom or the kingship or royalty takes place on a stage in a theater. Like even when Hotspur and Cater, they're talking in a dressing room. But if you look at Henry, he's always on a stage. Whenever you have that position, whenever you're wearing the crown, I think that you are performing. That's not easy either.
No, it really isn't. When I was made aware of H4, the first thing that came to mind was there was a movie that Oprah Winfrey did, The Women of Brewster Place, and in that in that film, Leon and Robin Givens' character, they performed Shakespeare for the neighborhood to make it relevant for the kids of that generation. Because Shakespeare for people of color sometimes is a little daunting, and especially for little kids. They're like, what is he saying? What does that mean? So when I heard about this project, that immediately came to my mind. So with Henry IV, we're doing this new fresh take for this generation, right? With it being set in L.A. Why L.A.? Why not New York or Chicago?
There are very practical reasons for that. The idea, the actors, everybody, we were out there in L.A., all of us were LA actors, and I think a lot of times New York and other places get credit for Shakespeare and theater, but there's a great amount of theater that happens in Los Angeles, California, state of California in general. Dude, you could literally make a living just doing plays up and down the 101 freeway. You might not get rich. You could certainly make a living. That said, we were out there. We thought there was a natural parallel in England, that sort of thing. It sort of lent itself easily to the tongue. I think also what we really did is not change the play so much as the setting of the play. Those are Shakespeare's words. And we wanted, as you point out, to make it seem contemporary, to make it seem relatable. The idea of Shakespeare's relevance and importance, I think, is again, just like the themes of burden, power, uneasy lies the head, and so forth. It's also true that those relationships between people remain the same, so we really didn't have to change the words. But we thought that, just like you mentioned Brewster Place and what Leon and Robin Givens were doing, for people to be able to see themselves in the play, in the world, it only helps. These are important plays. They're beautifully written. They tell an interesting version of history in England. But why would that be important to the people of America, particularly people who are black and in schools and public schools reading these plays? Why would it be important unless they can see how it relates to them? And I think that all of those plays, if we're going to continue to study them, could use a kind of fresh coat of paint, so to speak, in terms of its production, not the words. Words are great. Stories are great. But I think that new approach is long overdue, and I'm proud that we were able to be the first on board, so to speak, in terms of taking an English history play, placing it in a contemporary, recognizable time and place, but also do honor to the words and the story. We didn't change any of the dramatic action. We didn't change many of the words, a pronoun or two here and there, place name here or there. Those are the words, and we think that it's difficult to improve on Shakespeare. I've never found it to be the case, Carla. I promise you, I've done a lot of this kind of work.
But you know, a lot of people, and you know this is true, a lot of people, when they hear Shakespeare, they mentally just kind of tap out because they're like, yeah, I gotta think too hard to watch this or understand this. So I'm really appreciative of the fact that you have put yourself up on the mantle to reconfigure these classics and make them relevant for a whole new audience that wouldn't normally pay attention to it or be interested in it. So for that, thank you. What is your favorite classic?
In terms of just affection for the play, I love Julius Caesar. It's always interesting. It's a really interesting play. It's so well written. The characters are so well drawn. The language is so good, like those funeral oration speeches, the friends, Romans, countrymen speech. You know, I can hear that 1,000 times or read it 1,000 times. So that's my favorite.
And just as a fun, light question, because we've been talking about such heavy, deep subjects this morning at the Crack in LA. What, if anything, are you streaming right now?
Well, I streamed a show on Netflix called Messiah, which is very interesting, limited series. I don't know if it's coming back or not, but that's a very interesting show.
Do you watch anything that's just like straight up funny? You such a serious...
Oh, yeah. Well, I don't know about funny, but I love, I watch sports.
I said, do you watch anything funny? You're like, yeah, I watch sports.
That's sometimes very funny. I watched the Chappelle special, Sticks and Stones. I watched the who was it that did something recently? Deon. Yeah, that was funny.
Okay.
Yeah, I just saw Bad Boys for Life. That was awesome. Very funny.
It's always such a pleasure to talk to you. I love interviewing you. I really do.
Good talking to you again.
All right, take care. Have a great one.
Okay, you too.